In this video, I will go over the answers to the test practice 2. Please make sure that you watch this video all the way through and answer the question at the end to earn the credit. Number 1, the ratio of 5th graders to 6th graders in a science club is 4 to 7. There are 20 5th graders. How many 6th graders are there? First, find what you know. You have 4 to 7 as 5th graders to 6th graders. The next number you know is 20 5th graders. So this ratio will be equal to a ratio with 20 on the top because 5th grade should stay on the top. And then we want to find what 6th grade is. When you cross multiply, you get 4x equals 7 times 20, which is 140. You divide both sides by 4, and you will get that the number of 6th graders is 35, or C. Number 2, 5 friends shared 8 1/3 pounds of apples equally. How many pounds of apples did each person get? So you start with the pounds of apples you have, 8 1/3, and you're going to divide it equally by the 5 friends. You could either do this in the calculator if you're able to use a calculator on this problem. Make sure that it's a mixed number, 8 1/3, and then divide it by 5. Or if you wanted to do it with paper and pencil, you need to change your mixed number into an improper fraction. So 3 times 8 plus 1 equals 25 over 3. Then you divide by 5. In order to divide, you need to do the skip, flip, flip for dividing fractions. So we're going to skip 25 thirds. We're going to flip the division sign to multiplication, and then flip the 5 to the inverse 1/5. You can multiply across or multiply this in the calculator if you're allowed to use a calculator. And you will get 25 times 1 is 25. 3 times 5 is 15. You can reduce this to 1 10/15 and keep going to simplify it so that the answer is 1 2/3. And it's a word problem, so you want to make sure you have the label pounds of apples. Number 3, in Charlotte's computer club, 4 out of every 7 members are girls. What is the ratio of boys to girls in the club? First, look at what you need to know. The ratio should be boys to girls, which means boys would be on the top of the ratio and girls on the bottom. We know that 4 out of every 7 members are girls. So there are 4 girls, 7 members total. But we don't know how many boys there are. So you need to subtract 7 minus 4, and you find out that there are 3 boys. Now, to find boys to girls, 3 would go on the top because that represents boys, and girls would go on the bottom. That was 4. The other way to write a ratio is with the word 2, which is your answer choice. So you should have 3 to 4. If you pick C, 4 to 3, then you reverse it and it's wrong. So you need to make sure that you keep it in the right order. Number 4, simplify this expression. 10 plus 4 to the 3rd power minus 44. You have to remember your order of operations. The first thing we need to do here is simplify the power, 4 to the 3rd power. So you will keep the 10, the plus sign. 4 to the 3rd power is actually 4 times 4, which is 16, times another 4, which is 64. Then minus 44. The only thing left is addition and subtraction, and you just do that left to right. 10 plus 64 is 74, and then you will subtract 44, and your answer will be C, 30. Number 5, which triangle is similar to triangle ABC? You will notice that there is a right angle, and so the base is 5 meters, and the height is 12 meters. Your answer choices have triangles that are represented in different ways. So what you need to do is, with the proportion, after lining up your sides, you will be able to see if the proportion is really a proportion, and then you'll know that that is similar. So if we look at A, you see where the right angle is, so the base would be 10 meters, and the height would be 24 meters. That means you need to set up the proportion the right way. Let's do base 5 meters for this example triangle over 12 meters is the height. So base will be the top number, height will be the bottom number. Let's see if it is equal to 10 meters, the triangle in A, over 24. When you multiply 12 times 10, you get 120. When you multiply 24 times 5, you get 120. So A is actually correct, but let's just make sure. Look at the next triangle. Look at your right angle. 4 will then be the base, and 11 will be the height. Set it up. 5 meters over 12 meters equals 4 meters over 11 meters. When you cross multiply, 11 times 5 is 55, and 12 times 4 is 48. You know this is not correct. Now look at the next one. You have a right angle with 12 as the base and 15 as the height. So 5 meters over 12 meters equals 12 over 15. When you multiply 15 times 5, you get 75. And when you multiply 12 times 12, you get 144. That one is not correct. Last, look at D. You have a right angle here, so 18 meters will be the base and 18 meters will be the height. You can tell right off the bat that this isn't going to work, but let's just double check it. 5 over 12 equals 18 over 18. 5 times 18 is 90, and 12 times 18 is 216. So that one's not correct. So your answer is A. Number 6. Bert walked 3 1/4 hours at an average speed of 4.5 miles per hour. How far did he walk? That means at 4.5 miles, it took him 3 1/4 hours. So we're going to multiply 3 1/4. When you multiply this in your calculator using the mixed number times the other mixed number, you get B, 14 5/8. Number 7, choose the proportion that could be used to solve this problem. In a survey of 65 students, 2 out of 5 ride bicycles to school. How many students ride bicycles? First, you need to look at what do these numbers mean. 65 students is a total of students. Then you have 2 out of 5 ride bicycles. That means 2 ride bicycles to 5 total. And your 65 and your 5 will be on the same level. So we have 2 out of 5 students will equal how many bikes we need to know over the total number of students, which would be 65. Therefore, your correct answer is D. Number 8, if Louise drives from Lee to Suncrest, how many kilometers will she drive? You'll see Lee here and Suncrest all the way at the end. That means that between each location, there are decimals that you will need to add up. You make sure that you line up the decimals, or you just add them in the calculator. And you will get that the answer is B, 17.9. Number 9, simplify this expression. 15 times the quantity of 10 minus 2 to the third power all over 3. Remember, you have to follow the order of operations. The first thing to do is inside the parentheses. And within the parentheses, we have a power, 2 to the third power. So we're going to write everything else, 15 times 10 minus, then 2 to the third power is 2 times 2, which is 4, times another 2, which is 8. End the parenthesis, and that's all over 3. Now we do inside the parentheses. Bring down everything else. 15 times 10 minus 8 is 2, and then that's all over 3. Now we're going to do multiplication and division. On the top line, we can do multiplication. 15 times 2 is 30, and then continue with the divided by 3. Now the last thing we have to do is division. 30 divided by 3 is 10. Number 10, Rachel paid 36 cents per ounce for cheese. Which block of cheese did she buy? You're given answer choices with ounces and a price for each of those ounces. So all you have to do is find the unit rate for each of those answer choices. Remember, you start with money on the top and divide that by the ounces. So $2.88 divided by 8 is 36 cents. Then you have B, $1.98 divided by 6 is 33 cents. Then you have $4.19 divided by 10, which is 42 cents. And then $2.75 divided by 5 is 55 cents. Remember, you're trying to match 36 cents per ounce. That means that A is the correct answer. Number 11, a rug is 6 feet wide and 10 feet long. What is the ratio of the length to the width? Look at what you're looking for. Length to width. Up here we have 6 feet wide and 10 feet long. So 10 feet long would go with the length, which would be 10, and then the width would be 6. You can reduce that ratio to 5/3, and remember that ratios can be written 3 ways. In this case, we're looking for an answer with the colon, so 5/3 is 5/3, which is B. And you need to make sure that's in the correct order, so A would be wrong. Number 12, what is the distance around this figure? So we're looking for perimeter, distance around. That means that you take all of the numbers and you add them together. 7/8 plus 1 15/16 plus 5/8 plus 1 7/16. When you put those exactly like that into your calculator, you get C, 4 7/8. Number 13, simplify the expression 281.5 times 0.56. Remember that if you were not allowed to use a calculator for this and you had to use paper and pencil, you would not need to line up a multiplication with decimals. So 281.5 times 0.56. You do the multiplication as you normally would, starting with your furthest to the right and multiply, and then your next one and multiply, and then you count number of decimals to the end. So 1, 2, 3, so your answer would be 3 decimal places in. If you did this in the calculator, however, because you're allowed to, then you would get B, 157.640. Number 14, Vic used 1/3 of a bottle of lemon juice for a cake and 1/4 of the bottle for some cookies. How much of the bottle is left? In this case, you would take 1/3 of the bottle and add it to 1/4 of the bottle first. Remember that you could do this in your calculator if you're allowed, but if not, you had to do paper and pencil. You need to change your fractions to fractions that have common denominators. So in this case, it would be out of 12. But when you add up these two, you get 7/12. Now we're not done because we want to know how much is left. So in a whole bottle, we look at the denominator, and a whole bottle would be 12/12. If you subtract 7/12 from 12/12, you get 5/12, which is D. If you picked C, you didn't go far enough and find how much of the bottle is left. Make sure you always answer the question. Number 15, Josh's class sold 200 tickets to raise money for a new park. 3 tickets were drawn, and these people received prizes. Write the ratio of winners to total tickets sold. So you are looking for winners to total tickets. There are 3 tickets that were drawn that of people who received prizes, so that would be winners. So it would be 3, and then the 200 tickets was the total. So you could write it 3 over 200, which is 3 to 200. You could write it with your colon, or you could write it with the word 2. Number 16, Mr. Quinn drove 328.9 miles in 7 3/4 hours. Which is the best estimate of the distance he drove each hour? Because it's saying each hour, we're looking for the unit rate. So you're going to divide 328.9 miles by 7 3/4 hours, and that will find our unit rate. You could also set this up as a proportion, 328.9 miles over 7 3/4 hour equals how many miles over 1 hour, and do your cross multiplying. When you do this, you find out that it's about 40 miles. 17, use the order of operations to solve this equation. 2 times 10 plus 6 times 4 minus 8 divided by 2. First, we can do our multiplication and division. 2 times 10 is 20, plus 6 times 4 minus 8 divided by 2. Now we're going to do our multiplication. That's in the middle, 6 times 4, so we have 20 plus 24 minus 8 divided by 2. Now we have division, 8 divided by 2, so we bring down everything else. 20 plus 24 minus 8 divided by 2 is 4. We only are left with addition and subtraction, so we go left to right. 20 plus 24 is 44, minus 4 means our answer is A, 40. 18, the two pictures in the illustration are similar. What is the height of the larger picture? So similar means that they're not the same size, but their sides are proportional. We have a height here of 36, and we need to find the height of the larger picture. Then we have a width of 30 centimeters and a width of 40 centimeters. So we can set it up that the height, 36, over the width of the first picture, 30, will be equal to the height that we don't know of the larger picture over the width of the larger picture was 40. You can cross multiply and you get 30x equals 36 times 40, which is 1440. Then divide both sides by 30, and you get the answer is A, 48. Number 19, you subtract 1 3/8 minus 11 16ths. If you're allowed to do this in the calculator, just need to make sure you do it exactly that way. But if you had to do it paper and pencil, remember that first we need to change the mixed number to an improper fraction. 8 times 1 is 8. Plus 3 is 11. That goes over 8. Then you will subtract 11 16ths. Remember, to add or subtract fractions, you need to change the fractions so that there's a common denominator. In this case, it would be 16. So 8 times 2 is 16. 11 times 2 is 22. Subtract 11 16ths. Now you subtract across. 22 minus 11 is 11. You keep your same denominator. It's 16, so the correct answer is 11 16ths. I'm not going to go over the open-ended this time, but I'm looking for you to answer 3 things you now remember that you didn't remember before when you first took the test practice.